Hello and welcome to PMC English. This is Aishi Farasi and welcome to yet another episode of Social Heroes. In this episode of Social Heroes, we have someone who is a fellow at United Nations Sustainable Development Solutions Network, the founder of Good Universe, and someone who is doing all he can to help spread sexual and menstrual awareness. So let us welcome Mr. Kamal Nayak in this episode of Social Heroes. A warm welcome to PMC English, sir. So firstly, starting with, you have a BSc degree in animations and then you switched to a course. So what made you do that?
First of all, thank you. It's a pleasure being here today. And coming to your question, it's a long story short. I was in movie sector to pursue animation and designing. But I come from a place called Cuttack in Odisha. And in Cuttack, there is a rural place called Kerwal, and it's a village, and it's 35 kilometers from the city. And that place, I have seen the poverty very closely. And as you know, the misogyny, the patriarchal society I have grown up with, and the place where there will be only two teachers to teach whole 3 classes, 8, 9, 10th. There's no proper electricity. There's mere 5 feet height person has to bend to get into their house. Most of my village people, they sleep with cattle. I mean, the cattle will be there, the village people will be there. I have seen domestic abuse. I have seen my mother going through pain and never get addressed. And when you are a kid and whole world is your village and you do not know anything else, and somehow you do not react upon it. You believe that this is the way society runs, and you believe, or you rather made believed that this is how you need to grow up and the things happens. But somehow I was not okay with that. Somehow it was not feasible for me when I saw my mom going through various abuse. So I remember it was a winter morning. I was with my maternal house, my uncle's house, and in Odisha we get up really early, 5:30, 6, and 7 we'll have our chai. I and my other uncle and my nanaji was having chai. My mom rushed to her house, covering her nose, and with the pallu, sari ka pallu, and whole the pallu was soaked with blood. Her nose was broken exactly from here, and we didn't know how to react. We didn't know what to say. For a certain time I was still, and then she explained that back in my home, I mean my dad's home, in the morning she was making chai, and my mom's mother-in-law said something and they had an argument. The only problem my mom did is just respond back her mother-in-law, and my uncle was there, and he told my mom that how dare you to speak back to my mom, and he pushed my mom and she hit the door and broke her nose. I would say that is still okay, but at the same time nobody took her to the hospital. Nobody would dare to drop her to my uncle's house. At least she had to walk 10 kilometers to my uncle's house and reached, and then I had to take her to the police station. I said I have to take her police station. I was in class 7 back then. I didn't know anything about rights. I don't know anything about domestic abuse, NGO, social policy, nothing. But the only thing I know or knew back then was it is not feasible for me anymore that my mom go through this and I am standing here and listening to the story. And I was adamant. I took her to the police station with my uncle. And to my surprise, in the police station, they were like, it's your family issue, you have to sort it at your home. They were like, it can be sorted at home, and it is not a family issue anymore. After like 1 hour dialogue and conversation with the police people, they called my uncle, and then he gave an undertaking that he would never hit my mom again. So 14-15-year-old boy knew nothing about the world. Standing with his mom at police station was not easy. And here is the thing. There was 2 men. We talk about men having power, authority and agency. Here are 3 men. My dad, my uncle and me. My dad, with all his men agency or the power and authority at home, he chose to be silent. He didn't say anything because he made believe that you cannot just fight against your family and you should respect your mom. With all his agency and power and authority, he chose to be silent. Here is a man who is my uncle with all power, agency, and he chose to hit my mom. And here is a man just 14 or maybe 12-year-old back then, knew nothing about the world, chose to fight back and just chose to stood behind his mom, and it was not okay with him to see this violence or abuse. So, and after that it was not easy, and being a kid, you again busy with your family, busy with your career, pursue a career, and I was a creative guy. Then I pursue my BSc to sustain and support my family quickly. Otherwise I was a very good student, I was a topper in my school, and somehow that was suppressed, and thinking that this gender disparities or inequalities only happen in rural India. The fancy movie and art and all that thing made me believe that the city life is really beautiful, must not be, gender equalities will be there won't be disparities, there won't be any violence against people. I was in that zone. But the moment I came to Bangalore when I studied, then I came to Hyderabad to pursue my career in post-production or movie, and I got exposed to a place called Balareddy Nagar. It's just behind Film Nagar. The Film Nagar society is just down the hill. There is a slum called Balareddy Nagar, and accidentally got exposed to that, and whole my perspective of life, perspective of how we look at gender inequalities, rural and urban setup, and that bubble was broke, and I realized that gender equality is everywhere. And from there, when I pursue a career in movie production, everything was fancy to support my family, to my mom, to my dad. The only thing in my mind that okay, I'll earn more, I'll go back, I'll buy stuff for my family, my mom, and then maybe I'll make a house, get a car, all this basic dream I had. But standing at that slum, looking a off-field slum where there's a huge drainage was flowing from the off-field towards the slum. It was an open drainage. You can see all the discrete there. I'll assure you that you cannot cross that place without covering your nose. And I was standing there and looking at this scenario that people are just living urgent to that. And one woman is cooking food, and a kid is sitting a pile of garbage and eating the dosa. And that was not okay for me anyway. I didn't know anything. I was not financially enabled that time. I didn't have any backup, nothing. I was like, this is not done. Though I come from a very poor and rural background, I was like, this is not what we do. Back in rural area, what we do in the morning, you get up and clean your surrounding. We keep our things are very clean and neat. But here, it's a very dense populated space, and people are living like this was not okay with me. And then I decided, okay, I have to do something, because every single time, somebody else will do, government program will do, they will make policy, they will, give some grants to make these things okay. And I never been that person. I was like, what I can do? And all the memory of my being in my village and going through all this discrimination or gender equalities or poverty, it was not okay for me to just be okay, see and move. Then I decided to work in that space, and then I quit my job. I was like, okay, somebody need to take care of this. And we started with basic healthy practices. I thought I'll speak about healthy practices there, the things will change. Because as a young person, I had boiling blood, and I was like, okay, we'll change everything. And change is the key word. I went back and spoke to my friend. I was like, okay, fine, let's do something. They were like, what can you do, Kamal? We do not have money, we do not have backup. Who do you know in the Hyderabad? It's hardly 6-7 months being in Hyderabad. What we can do? I said, I don't know, we should do something. Let's start talking to them. So we started bringing external people to this slum, talking about hygiene practices. That's where we started. But what happened? When we did 1-2 workshop, I was like, once up ek baar mein bolunga and I will tell them that this is how you need to be. You need to clean your surrounding. You should eat healthy. Clean your hand after washroom. Before food. And the keyword, as I told you, is change. So we did the workshop in a Sunday. Spend little money from our pocket, and that time we spent around 600-700 rupees, and it was a big deal for me because I was just starting as a career, as a fresher. And the next week I went, I was like, everything will be changed because we did the workshop. To my surprise, there was nothing changed. And as nothing happened, I was back, like I was little worried. I said, okay, maybe it's one program, people didn't, get that thing. Then we did another program, then another. We did 7-8 program. There's no change. And it troubled me actually. Then went back and spoke to many people asking why the things are not moving, and nobody had any answer. So I went to Gachibowli. I was coming back in auto. I was thinking that why people are not listening to us, and why certain people listen to us. What is wrong? Then I realized something which I think no university, no college or nobody will teach me, which I realized the toughest part of this thing is gaining the trust. In a slum, people are so much used by people, whether it's politician, leader, whoever it is. They come, they make false promises, and they never get any result out of it, and they are okay with that now. They're so much okay, they are not able to trust you. So you go to a slum with all this decked up, and they never accept as a community member or their people. They always say somebody came, outsider, ye aaya, oh aaya, kaun aaya tha, and things happen that way and leave. Then the realization how my friends are believing in me, but these people not. How can I gain this trust? And these practices we are still following every program we do, that's called relation building or rapport building. The subject like hygiene, menstrual hygiene, domestic abuse, mental health cannot be effectively done or implemented until unless I have a rapport with you or a relation with you. So to build that trust, what we did in that slum was little magical for us. So I used to take milk packet and say, auntie, can you make some chai? So like, beta, aap hamare ghar mein chai piyoge? I'm like, why not? Aap banao. And they will be cleaning all this cup and all. They'll give you the chai, and then that started. Then from the chai, then Maggie. Auntie, we are spending a lot of time here. We are hungry. Can you make the Maggie? Maggie to lunch to then conversation, and within like 15-20 days, everybody in the slum know who Kamal and other teammate of mine. And that was game changer. Now we are not outsider. Now we are a part of the community. Now I was someone belongs to the community, so I got and gained their trust. During this program, we realized through incident that why menstrual hygiene need to be spoken and need to be addressed. And that's how I started Good Universe in 2014. I never looked back.
Your journey is quite inspiring, like you switched on step by step, and now you are here. You have founded this Good Universe. It's really inspiring to know your life journey, that how you landed up with this concept. Here that you spoke about the menstrual hygiene and the sexual awareness. So how tough is it for you, to bring up this issue, because women might not be comfortable discussing about all of this. So how challenging was it for you?
It was very, very challenging from various angles. So the challenge was from within, that that your mom and dad had high hope that measure of success for them was different, right? And then buying a house, buying a car, how much money you have in your bank. That was never been in my case. And but asking myself that, am I doing right for them? I know I'm in a place where I may not get anything and I need to spend all my time here. That was one challenge. Second challenge, when my friend or immediate relative heard, they were like, why menstrual hygiene? There is no scope. How can you work in this space? It's a very women-centric place, and if you want to do social work, why don't you get into education? There's a lot of money in it. But my answer was, it's not about money, it's not about scope, it's about the issue which I need to address. Just imagine back in 2013 when women were not talking, I initiate the talk or dialogue or conversation, it was really, really challenging. On the other hand, my friends were always like, why do you want to work? Do you have inclination towards women? Why women's space? And every single time when you hear as a beginner and starter, it's really tough. On the other hand, the society where you do not know people who can talk about it. There was not much literature around menstrual hygiene back then. I googled, I started reading, reaching out to the doctors, and to my surprise, I reached out to more than 11 doctors, and most of them reject or say no to my approach. They were like, why do you know about menstrual hygiene? Your girlfriend has any problem? Bring her, we'll talk to her. And they didn't even listen that it is not about my girlfriend or my wife or anybody. I wanted to know about it. So it was really, really challenging to break that conversation. Another incident, when we started working in the slum, the first program was attended by only 5 women, and we spoke to everyone, okay, please come join. Nobody joined. Next day when we went to the slum, few men came and they were like, what you are talking about, menstrual period? Are you trying to influence them? Why you are talking about that? Don't come to the slum. And I was just a young guy, I was terrified. Then to my fear, I started engaging them, saying, why don't you join our program? You sit, you know that what you are talking about the program. Then later, that became our core area, that involving men to this conversation is much more needed, because I want to create a conducive environment, a place where we can create such dialogue. We can initiate such dialogue, because the moment you start talking, I think we are creating awareness. I think this is also a space where we are creating awareness, and thank you for doing that. And yeah, this is how it was tough. And forget about the financial aspect, I am not touching. Forget about the career path, I am not even talking about it. It is still a challenging topic for me. I was working in corporate, I was working in a big production house. I was actually recently working, consulting a big company in Hyderabad, but I'm quitting because I want to focus in this space and I want to work in this space. It's challenging from every aspect, from personal to financial to career wise.
So like, yeah, I know that it's quite challenging when it comes to, men discussing all about this, because there is a taboo in the society that, women are with certain mindset and men are with certain mindset, and to break that taboo, it's quite difficult. So also, Kamal, there are other NGOs, there are other foundations who are working towards menstrual hygiene. So how is Good Universe different from all those NGOs?
I'm actually very grateful that there are many organizations working now. When we started, there were hardly any organization working on menstrual hygiene space. There were a big organization, a reputed organization who were working in this space. But I'm so glad, I'm grateful that there are many organizations creating conversation around it. But what take me a little back, or how we kept Good Universe is very unique and different. We do not intervene in events. That means if I go to a slum, and as I mentioned, even the rapport building is a pure case for us, and I go to a place and start talking about menstrual hygiene, the immediate thing will happen, they'll create a wall between you and your audience. So just imagine where people are not okay to say the word period. You are going and talking about sexual reproductive health and menstrual health in large, it's a big deal for them. It may not be big deal who is going and facilitating the program. It may not be big deal for me to talk about, menstrual health, period, blood, or vaginal discharge. Maybe it is okay for me to talk. But you need to understand how okay your audience or target audience is. Are they okay? Are they open to receive it? Otherwise, your time and everything will be, just in vain. Other hand, understanding certain space, why menstrual hygiene is much more important. If it's just about pad, if it's just about certain commercially available pad, don't you think people know? People know. It's much beyond to it. How it is different? One, your existing behavior. For example, you are a 25-year woman and you are almost using the certain pad or whatever you are using from last 12 years or maybe 10 years. So 10 years habit or practice or the behavior, how can I change in 25 minutes, or I'll give you a pad or cup or cloth pad? how can I expect you to just start using it? It doesn't happen that way. One. Second, menstrual hygiene has different angle. One is the gender. So we are privileged. We can afford a cup of coffee for 300 rupees at a Starbucks. But there are people who are not. So it goes to the decision maker. So most of the Indian family, who is the decision maker? The decision maker mostly is a man. And as you know, man doesn't get into this space. They are like, okay, it's not my space. It's women's health issues. Have you ever heard saying ki men's health issues when we are not getting into it? It's always like women's health issues. You take care of, you talk about it. But here, the decision maker is men. So there is a gender angle to it. So you need to understand that you need to work with that particular man, the leader, the religious leader, the man itself. Another angle, the climate, where my core area is. Climate mein, you know, Hyderabad mein, it was a water crisis last year. I literally brought water bubble for 30 rupees and took bath. That was a scenario. When you do not have water availability, how do you expect your women to be hygiene? Right. And how do you want to clean them, and how do you want to maintain them? Another point is the culture. What is the existing culture? The culture here, Hyderabad or Telangana people believe in, it's not the same case in Assam or in Manipur or in Odisha. And another angle to it, as I mentioned, existing behavior. So this is the angle. You need to understand, do a research first. Before getting into a space, I need to do a basic need assessment. What is needed? And we touch upon this angle rather than going and we are different because we don't just go and give pads and come back. We start with the rapport building. We create that relation where people can open up. Then we do intervene, starting from the body positivity. We don't talk about menstrual hygiene the first day. We talk about what is body positivity. Then we engage them in activities. Then we talk about menstrual hygiene. Then we don't even suggest. We tell them these are the product. These are the product, these are the pros and cons, these are the product, these are the pros and cons. You choose, because we do not want to sound hypocritic when we are saying the women has all the choice to choose whatever they want, and at the same time we are imposing the cup or cloth pad. We are advocating it, but we are not imposing anything. We are giving you the right information and making you enable to take the right decision for your health or environment. So this is how we are different, rather just giving pad and the slum.
Okay, got it. And also you're working towards the sustainable development goal. So if you can just highlight a few things about what exactly it is and how do you work for it?
Right. So I was a UNSDSN fellow, and I spend most of the time at slum because that is my work place. If I do not understand the place, how does it happen, how does it run, so it won't be an effective program for me. Back in 2017, when I was working with the menstrual hygiene space and other aspect of sexual reproductive health, I was spending a lot of time at ground and slum. Then I realized there are different aspect was affecting women. It's just not menstrual hygiene. It's water, it's the fuel they are using, domestic abuse, and all this aspect. So I did a study that how climate or environmental condition is affecting women, and that was my kind of a proposal, and I advocated that. And then I was working with UNSTS, and they selected around 40 people across the globe, and I was one of them. And there I started learning about how create a sustainable cities for women. So there are 17 goals. My primary area is goal number 3, which is good health and well-being, and goal number 13 and 12 and 11. 11 is creating a sustainable cities, 12 is responsible consumption, and 13 is climate change. So what happens, especially in this case if I'll talk, so climate change affects everything and anything of your life, but it's a bigger fight. Person like me, I always say I'm not here to change the world. I can't, because it's too big, too far to change. So I need to select, or I need to choose my battle, as it says. So my battle is how climate change is affecting health, and that's to specific women health, that I'll work. I want to do something in that space. Then I realized that one woman in a month use around 20 single-used pad, right? And where does it go? Like if there are around 2 million women here in Telangana into 20 pads, where does it go? And it's not a secret anymore that each pad takes around 300 to 500 years to decompose and end at our landfill. That how much waste we create, what is the carbon footprint of that, and how it is linked to climate change. So I started working in this space from since 2019, and we are working that space, promoting menstrual cloth pad, reducing the carbon footprint and the health aspect, making it very localized. Ki most of the time when you hear about climate, it's plastic or plant tree or somewhere the glacier is melting. So we are not connected. It's like, okay, मेरे को तो affect नहीं कर रहा है, you know, in our term. So I am not worried about it. So we are making it very localized subject. We made it very localized that how it is affecting you at your house, involving your respiratory system and all the other aspect. You know, if you are pregnant, how it is affecting. If you are pregnant, how the pollution is affecting. Then we are working in this space now. So the large umbrella is how climate is affecting your health now.
Okay. So lovely to know about your life journey. It's like, you know, you're working in various sectors and all. So now coming back to Hyderabad, so what are the main targets of your Hyderabad? Like what are the main sections of the Hyderabad that you look for and you work for?
I am so glad that you asked that question, and I get this question a lot, mainly when a funding agency approach, when a corporate approach, any person, any donor approach, they're like, what is your target audience, which area you cater to, is it like urban, rural, or semi-urban or urban poor? My answer is very simple. It's not about the geographical location, or it's not about certain community. It's not about urban poor, educated, you know, who are not educated. It's not, that's not my criteria. Believe me, there are people who have MTech and all this academical credentials, they do not understand what is menstrual hygiene is, or they do not understand what is climate. So my work is to identify the need. It can be in the posh area of Banjara Hill, it can be in Adilabad. What need to be done? So for example, you know already ABCD. If I start talking about ABCD, then there is no point. If you know ABCD, then I'll start from E. Then if you know only AB, then I'll start from C. That makes sense, right? Otherwise you'll feel like, yeah, I already know this, why he is talking to. So we do something called need assessment. Wherever we work, we identify a place. For example, Nalgonda, we started working in few years. Then we send a person with a basic questionnaire, a setup of 10 or 20 questionnaire, understanding the approach or behavior of the certain community there towards health. So another point I would love to mention here, the health seeking behavior. So women do not have the health seeking behavior. It's ingrained somehow. I'm not saying it's a problem. As a feminist, it sounds for me, you know, I always talk to women and say that my problem with you, that you do not talk about yourself, right? They don't stand. So they do not have a health seeking behavior. I'll give an example. The moment you have headache or someone slightly fever, you will, what do you say most of the time, or what our mom says, you know, ठीक है, it's a headache, चले जाएगा, हो जाएगा, ठीक हो जाएगा. And you never know when it will elevate to the next level. But it's not the same case with the men or in other community. They will like, okay, health खराब है तो doctor दिखा देंगे. So the health seeking behavior is much more needed. That's a attitude, or that's a behavior to seek the help when you are not okay or ill. So that's where we also intervene. We try to, when we talk about menstrual hygiene, we talk about sexual reproductive health, we talk about this specifically, that how you can create a habit of seeking help, or mainly health seeking behavior. Yeah, that's so. Yeah, to answer your question, it's always the need. It's not about the geographical location for us.
Also, Kamal, I want to hear you to elaborate a little about your campaigns or upcoming campaigns, your projects, what all things you are working for.
So we have majorly three aspects of working: climate, health, and gender. And in that space, we have something called Climate Dialogue. It's a program where we engage young people to talk about climate change. And when I'm saying a dialogue, it's not somebody is moderating. It's coming together and talk about climate. And this is much more important, because the initial stage we need to talk about it, spread the news. Second, we are doing a lot of activities around health. menstrual health definitely. We have signature campaign on PCOS conference. We are the first in at least Telangana or in South India to talk about PCOS back in 2015, and we are doing something called PCOS conference. Menstrual Hygiene Day, May 28. That's even called International Menstrual Hygiene Day. We do a huge event where we bring commoner to talk and in a public platform to talk about menstrual hygiene. Also in the gender space, we are working in with domestic abuse, and we're helping them. So anybody wants to join, most of the time people ask me, Kamal, how can I contribute, because we are too busy in our work life. The simple thing would be just go check out, give us a shout out, or and that actually helps and that encourages us to do more. And if they want to join, please do join as a volunteer, work with us. You will have amazing experience in the ground. I would love to have many and right or skill set people to help us in terms of amplifying this program more, whether it's health, whether it's climate change or gender. We are open, we are welcoming young people or people to join us and amplify the program to a larger audience and create a big impact.
That's great. And I also urge all the viewers who are watching this episode that if you are confused that how do you help the society in certain terms, then you can just contact Kamal and you can get into conversation with him to know more about how you can come forward and help as an individual to the society. So also Kamal, like you work round the clock, just for the ideation and working round the clock on the ground also. So what is your mantra or what keeps you calm throughout the day?
So I'm very, very organized person. I cannot do random plans. It's very difficult for me. So my days start with meditation. I get up and do meditation. That is, I miss some time. It's not like I don't go very hard on myself, but I meditate. I'm a little spiritual in terms of I make things very organized. At the same time, in the early morning I do meditate, then I do workout, and then my day plan is very clear that I'll do this and I'll do that, and it's very organized in that way. So when you meditate, it keeps you the whole day calm. I think nothing better than meditation can keep you calm or make you more organized, and it gives you a number of power to keep you calm and response right.
We urge people to meditate and get to know about its benefits and how it can help you as an individual to grow further. And also, Kamal, you have been awarded with many prestigious awards also, like Social Achiever Award and many others. So how was the feeling when you got your first award?
I was nervous. I remember the Social Achiever Award or usse pehle I was invited to Delhi, and that was the first time I visited Delhi. I didn't know where to go, how to go, but it gave me a responsibility. The dialogue is famous dialogue. The award came with a lot of responsibility. No, I need to do more, and people are believing in me. So that gave me a courage to, okay, there's somebody at least giving me the recognition. I need to take it forward. That was the only thing I had in my mind.
So lastly, winding up this episode, I want you to give a strong message to all the audience watching this episode.
We should create a space where we can create dialogues around menstrual health, dialogue around mental health, dialogue around feminism, gender equalities, climate change. And messages like this should be spoken in volume, and it should echo in generation to generation. That's how we can make it normalize. And I would love to see a day where I am not an example. A man working in menstrual hygiene, it should not be example. It should be so normalized that all the men are talking about it. It's so normalized, like it's just a health or headache or a fever, that everybody is taking part of it. And that day, I think that will be the best day for me. And I think I urge people to create dialogues.
We need to actually break this taboo of, men not talking about all of this. We need to normalize this. And that was a great message of yours to the audience. Thank you so much, Kamal, for joining in this episode of Social Heroes. So viewers, this was Mr. Kamal Nayak, the founder of Good Universe. And I hope that his life journey is quite inspiring for all of you. And you also as an individual take a step forward so that we together can make a difference. So with this is Aishi Farasi. Stay tuned to PMC English for more updates.